Welcome back to Stories from the River. I'm Heather Greenwood. Happy New Year to you all, and I am excited to be here today to continue exploring the Lighthouse Fund with special guests Emelyne Henderson and Tim Sayles.
Welcome to Stories from the River, a show in which we go behind the scenes at Broad River Retail.
Welcome back to Stories from the River. Emelyne, Tim, so good to have you here today.
Morning.
Hi, Heather.
Hi, guys. So it's hard to believe, but last time when we were on Stories from the River together, the three of us, it was August. So it's been a minute. We've done some things. We've had a busy holiday season. We've wrapped up 2025, and now we're back. So for those guests who maybe weren't with us in August or are coming into the party late, we're going to kind of start with a lead up to where we are today. So Tim, will you tell our listeners and our watchers at home, what is the Lighthouse Fund and where did this idea kind of come from? How did we get here?
Thanks for having me, Heather. Love talking about this. This is obviously something that all of us were very connected to from the beginning. I think the idea really came from our leadership team annually really tries to put us into work groups where they ask us to solve some kind of company-wide problem. And at the time when we first started to think about this, we were placed on a team where we identified that one of the biggest problems that we had was that our people were struggling coming out of COVID and then entering into the big R word that was going around. Our people were having some struggles, and we didn't have a good way to help give them a hand up. And so we tried to figure out a way where we as a company could love our own people that were going through struggle. And that could be anything from death to finances, to natural disasters, you name it, there's a million things that could go wrong. And we wanted to be able to offer a way for us to give a hand up to some of these people. So we spoke with some of our friends that already are doing something similar to this, like Movement Mortgage, and I think the other one was RLX, was the other one that was helping us. And kind of got a glimpse of how they might be doing something similar. And then we Broad Riverized it, I guess you would say. And so we started working with a group called Helping Hands, and we set up a fund that was seeded by the owners initially, but then we got an opportunity where we thought it would be good for some of our own memory makers to love other memory makers by giving payroll deductions or one-time donations, so that they also could have a hand in, because maybe you've been in that place before where you needed a hand up. And so now you have a time to give back and love those that are in that place right now. And so we set up all of that, and we came up with, it's many things, right? It's an opportunity to serve. It's an opportunity to foster hope and love. It's, gives us a place to have a fair process for everyone to go through. And we have a third party that's helping to lead it. So we don't have to necessarily do all of that work ourselves, but we have someone that's helping us. We set up the guidelines, and it creates a ripple effect of love, to everybody. And so we wanted it to also be biblically based. And so we the mission statement of it is we want to be a light in the lives of everyone we serve. And we thought, well, what are two Bible verses that speak to that? And one of them was Psalm 36:9, for with you is the fountain of life. In your light we see light. Then the other one was Matthew 5:14-16, you are the light of the world. A town built on a hill can't be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others. It just gives us a chance to really shine a light to somebody who's just down and give a hand up. So we have all those different ways that we can buy payroll deduction. Sometimes it's just even, word of mouth and just telling someone, hey, go check this place out. So we created a place to give a hand up to others.
I love it. It's many years in the making, especially for the people right around this circle right here. But we actually launched the program on July 17th, which again seems like a long time ago. We had a surprise town hall. We got our company together and really talked about what the Lighthouse Fund was, and what it was going to be for our company. So we've now closed the book on 2025. So our kind of first shot at the fund and first several months. So Emelyne, can you share with us how many memory makers have been impacted by the fund or supported thus far, and how many funds have been distributed at this point?
Yeah, so since our launch in July, we're officially at 6 months, and I checked this morning just to make sure all of our numbers were up to date. And so since our launch, we've been able to support 54 memory makers with about almost at $75,000. It's just under at 74. So that's been distributed to those 54 people. And we've been able to support with a lot of different needs that our memory makers have that we wouldn't have known about, without this fund and otherwise. So it's really humbling to be a part of.
So, Emelyne, as they go through the process in the Lighthouse Fund, obviously the process is confidential. We don't know information, names, needs, that all goes through helping hands. But as people go through the process, they do have the ability to click a box on their application about wanting to share their experience. So, can you tell us a little bit about the response you've received about the fund since July, whether that be through people who have been supported by the fund or kind of word on the street, what you've heard here in the office or across the enterprise?
When we on my team and our team, Heather, we launch a lot of programs, and there's a lot that we do. And after the launch, we always wait to hear what people are saying and how it's going. And I think of all of the things that we've done at Broad River, this is probably what I've heard the most about afterwards. People will come to me and tell me how the fund was a blessing to them, or how they were able to support another memory maker. I know recently a peer on my team, Carlos, he shared that he was just having a conversation with someone, and through that conversation it led to hey, have you checked out the Lighthouse Fund? And then, a few days later, the memory maker came back to him and said, hey, I was able to get support. Thank you for sharing that, because we do a launch and we do communication after communication, and even still, sometimes it's just word of mouth. So I've heard a lot of that kind of support going around. And then also just I think the thing that stands out the most to me is the stories of our memory maker and the things that we've been able to support them with. And Tim really talked about it being hand up. And so how do we help you get to kind of a new destination and a new outlook? And I think recently one of the things that stood out to me the most is we were able to help someone support their upfront fees for an apartment. So, when you get an apartment, you have to pay not only the first month's rent, but a down payment, and the next month, you have to pay 2 months' rent. So it can be a lot just trying to get approved. And so someone who, unknown to Broad River until they applied to the Lighthouse Fund, had been homeless. So we were able to, during the holiday season, support them with getting that apartment approved, and actually having a place to live and sleep and do life with their family. And so I get to hear about a lot of these stories through the work I do with the Lighthouse Fund. And yes, it's super confidential, but a lot of the stories that you get to hear, you really see the impact that it's having on Broad River and our memory makers.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Emelyne. I know this year in 2026, one of the things we want to accomplish is sharing some testimonial videos and hearing more from our memory makers. We've learned so much, even walking the hallways or visiting our stores, that it's just amazing to see what this has already done and what the future of this program will be. So you talked about us already giving $75,000 to our memory makers in a pretty short amount of time. So as we've shared on the podcast before, this fund was originally seeded by our company owners. And again, we didn't really know how much money we would need, how long we would take to get through it. So a lot of it is guessing and leaning on some others in the industry who are doing it well. So we've added a different spin to ours, which is also our memory makers being able to participate. We believe strongly in memory makers helping memory makers at Broad River. And so, Tim, can you tell us a little bit about how our memory makers here at Broad River can help support the fund?
Sure. Well, there's several ways. First you can do a standard payroll deduction, and you can find the QR code for that and the link to be able to donate. It's going to be in some of your break rooms, and it's also going to be found on the Currents. So you can look there for that, and it's a great way for you to be able to give your own money to it to be a part of the process. And that, again, I want to reiterate, that can be a one-time donation, or it can just come as a standard deduction out of your payroll, your standard check. Other ways you can do it is, for me, I can just speak. I wore this shirt 2 weeks ago to the gym, and I was working out, and I had my earbuds in, kind of doing my own little thing, and this guy walked up to me, and he said, "Tell me about your shirt." Mm-hmm. And it led me to telling him all about it. And then before you know it, he said, "Can I pray for you and your company for what you guys are doing to for your people?" And I said, "Sure." And we stood there and we prayed about it at the gym, out in the open. And that led 3 other people to come up to me and say, "Everything okay? What's going on?" And it led me to be able to share even more about it. So word of mouth, just talking about it, is a great thing, because this is an organization that you can donate to. You don't have to be just with Broad River. So if you have friends that, work closely with us, talk to them about it. Let them know it's there. You'd be surprised how many people are dying to give to something like this. So just be loud and vocal about it.
I love that. Word of mouth is so important. We try our best internally to communicate the program and to talk about it and include it in our day one box, but we all know how easily that can get lost. So talking about it is a huge, huge piece of it. I know we recently wrapped open enrollment at Broad River, and this was the first time, obviously, new program, where as you were going through and you were selecting your benefits, and I was going through and doing mine at home, that I saw my option to give to the Lighthouse Fund. And so it was really cool to see it come up in enrollment and to click that button. So Emelyne, with the payroll deduction and completing open enrollment, I know that certainly helped as well. What does participation look like so far from our memory makers, either through one-time donation or that payroll deduction?
We have continued to see support and participation in the program grow over time. So when we first launched, we had a little goal to get to a certain amount of people giving. We always want giving to feel optional. We invite people to participate and be a part of it, but sometimes they give their money other places or their time other places, and that's okay too. But we wanted to kind of set a goal for ourselves to see kind of where we landed. And so that goal, I think, was 75 memory makers, and we hit that, I think, in a week. I think the first day we had a lot of memory makers sign up to give, and then it grew over time. So we kind of ended 2025 with 91 memory makers signed up to give through payroll deduction. But then after open enrollment, it grew a lot. I think just that constant reminder, seeing it at open enrollment and saying, "Oh yeah, I did want to give to that." And so after open enrollment, we have 141 memory makers signed up to give, which is almost or over 16% of our population at Broad River. So we're really, really proud to see that. I was super excited. I was like, I have to go share this immediately. Because our memory makers just continue to show up for each other. They continue to just surprise me with their generosity. And I was really excited to see that. So we'll see how it continues to grow over time.
That's incredible. That's outstanding. I know it's beyond our wildest dreams of what we thought was possible. And again, for us, giving, you give where you are led. And so certainly this is not required at Broad River. It is just an opportunity to give back to those around you, like programs like Operation 'Tis the Season and Operation Magic School Bus. So it's awesome. It's awesome to look back over the years that we talked about this program and thought, would it ever happen? And now to live it and see it over the first 6 months and talking about it and having it really become part of our DNA at Broad River. So all of us, the 3 of us, have lived this program ideation through today. January 2026. Now that the fund is fully active and live at Broad River, how does it make you guys feel? Has anything surprised you about the responses from our memory makers? So, Tim, let's start with you.
When we started this idea a while back, and I want to give shout outs to Chrissy Whitley, who was with us at the time, and Kim Harkness, who was a part of this team, and the leadership from Jocelyn Jones throughout this. We're not here without, we had one think tank day where Jocelyn dazzled me with how she just led us through a process of really thinking through every step of how to, bring this to fruition and make it more than just an idea. I learned so much just in that day. So I was grateful for even that process. But coming from where I came from before here, where I was working in the church world, it was always very evident to see what your mark on the world was and what your purpose was to your job and everything. And I know my purpose here, and I don't diminish that. But I'm always much more mission-minded and people-minded than, my job necessarily can show every day in what I do. And so this gave me an opportunity to be a part of something where we're loving our own people and realizing that while we all show up every day with a job to do, we're also human beings and we all have a lot of stuff going on, and so much of it is out of our control. And I remember the day that we launched this fund and we had the call, and we got off the call, and the first thing I did was make a beeline over to your office and gave you a big old hug, because we were just so happy for this opportunity to be a part of something that was so great for our people. And then when we walked out of your office, there was people walking towards us, clapping and hugging us and stuff like that, just because it's a big deal. I think the majority of us have lived some kind of struggle in our life that maybe we saw coming and maybe we didn't. And so to know that there is something for our people that is such a light, such a hand up, makes you feel held when you're just kind of feeling alone sometimes. I love working at a place that cares about that.
Absolutely. To see where we started to where we are today is such a gift. I don't know that I ever thought we'd get here. Certainly, this has not been easy. And on the outside looking in, it could certainly look easy. But doing it for the right reasons is what got us here, and for our care and our love for the memory makers that call this place home. So, Tim, I know I speak for both Emelyne and I when I say we're so thankful for you and the support that you've given and the time and the heart that you've given to our program. Emelyne, what about you?
I think that as we were building the fund and all of those great memories that Tim shared, we had to wonder a lot, right? We talked to our partners and, different companies that have done this before, and kind of got an idea of what we might see. But a lot of it was kind of just wondering, who might apply? How many people might apply? What needs will there be? And so I think this first year, being able to truly start to see that and see what our memory makers are impacted by has inspired me a little bit to, dive a little deeper and say, can we do more here? Or, what else can we do to support our memory makers? And I think that Manny and Charlie both have that same mindset. What more can we do? And I think I've appreciated that so much because, if you're facing a hardship, the financial piece really does help, right? But then there are other aspects outside of that I think impact, what you're going through, and that we can be there to support you for. And so I think, we're starting to see that and think through some of those pieces, and, just think through the future of the Lighthouse Fund, how we're going to continue to grow it and continue to make an impact. And I think I have felt so humbled throughout this experience just to get to hear people's stories and kind of see where they're at, and be able to even be a small piece and logistically and supporting getting them what they need. And so sometimes it's been hard. I know sometimes Heather knows I've come to her office and just say, talking to a memory maker, and it can be difficult hearing some of those things, but I feel honored to get to be the one to have those conversations and show them how to apply and do all of those little pieces. So it's been really, really good. And I'm excited to see what the future holds and how many more memory makers we'll be able to support as the fund continues.
Absolutely. Some of the times it is tough. It is really tough. We've had some tough conversations this year, but to know that we're there and we get to support people through these times is really just a blessing. And there's tears and there's tough family conversations that we have with memory makers, but knowing that little piece that we can help support them with, hopefully it makes a big difference for them. So, Emelyne, we've learned a lot about this fund logistically through our partners at Helping Hands. We've done some things really well. We've done some things not really well this year. And so we've certainly learned a lot about running a fund like this, which is very new for all of us. Is there anything different that you plan on doing in 2026 based on your learnings from 2025?
So we're tweaking a few things, specifically around our application process and some of our guidelines. So Helping Hands actually has a new application process. It won't change much for our memory makers. It's just pretty much a new link. They'll still go to the website. They can still apply through there. But the application will be through Helping Hands, and that will allow us to track data a little better as well and see it from their end. So that's one change that's coming. And then again, just some tweaks to our guidelines. We want to make sure that our memory makers get the most support possible when needed. So we're tweaking a little bit there. And then another thing I would just say is, we found that again, communication about the program is so key. And so I've worked with our marketing team to start building some tools for our memory makers. So recently some large posters went out to the stores providing information about the Lighthouse Fund, where you can go to apply, all of those things. And then we're working with them to build some future tools for our memory makers so that there's a lot of reminders around that it is there and it's there for them and they can use it. And then also in July, we hope to share an impact report with our memory makers. So really sharing, from launch to 1 year, what has that impact looked like? How have we been able to support our memory makers? In what ways? And so I'm excited about that as well.
A lot to come. I think it's important to note in all the things that you're sharing, Emelyne, is this wasn't just a, hey, we're done. Hey, we launched a Lighthouse Fund. Great job. High fives. And now we're done. The consistent oversight that you give this program each and every day, checking in on it, keeping an open line of communication with Helping Hands, who are incredible partners beyond our wildest dreams, and continuing to ask, how can we do better? How can we make it more accessible? How can we make sure more memory makers know? Our vision on our team where we work in the people department is all about creating an exceptional experience for all memory makers. And so for us, it goes back to just that one more. If one more person knew, if one more person shared, and so that the work that you've done with Kim and Jim and that team will really come to fruition this year in 2026. And then who knows what's to come in 2027 and beyond. So a lot of goodness to come from the Lighthouse Fund. So as we head into this new year, a lot to come. But for both of you, what are your hopes for the Lighthouse Fund in 2026?
I hope it continues to grow both in just people's knowledge, use, trust, donations themselves for it. But I also hope that maybe we're able to figure out other ways to help raise more money for it, through whether it be through events or what it is, just continual ways for us to continue to grow the fund and ensure its long-lasting impact for those yet to even join us.
Very exciting. I love that. Thank you. Emelyne?
I agree with that. I hope that we'll continue to see it impact memory makers' lives I hope I continue to see memory makers applying to it. That means they know about it. That means they feel comfortable, sharing about things that can be uncomfortable to share about. I just hope to see it continue to grow. Like Tim, I hope that we can find other ways to grow the fund, which I think we will. I think we always have a lot of ideas in our world. But I think we have a lot of ideas for the future and the growth of the fund. And also, I just want to mention, since you talked about it and I haven't mentioned it yet, Helping Hands is such a wonderful partner. Give a shout out to Lainey at Helping Hands. She is an excellent communicator. I typically never have questions because she provides so much detail in her updates, and she is genuinely, I feel that she genuinely wants to help our memory makers as much as we do, which is exactly what you want from a partner in this type of program. She has a lot of genuine care for our memory makers, so I appreciate Helping Hands too.
They've been so great. Again, we've been with them, we've known them for a while, but truly living out this program together. One of the things that I think about when I think about our program, and Tim mentioned it in his experience at the gym, is just my hope is that more companies do more like this with their program. The past several months, I've had a very, very close friend go through something so horrific for her and her children. And as I watched her, and I've kind of asked those questions that I think are just easy, like, well, does your company offer any support? And she's like, what are you talking about? No. And so I think about those people that I see in my life going through crisis, and I just think, man, if she just had somewhere to go, or they offered some sort of resource. And so it just makes me wonder, what if more companies did things like this to be able to support their people and their employees? And, in the grand scheme of things, it's a little thing that's going to go a big, big way and cause a big ripple effect in the world. So I'm happy that we get to live it here every day with our memory makers. Again, Tim gave a shout out, but of course to our friends who aren't on the call today, Kim Harkness, Chrissy Whitley, Jocelyn Jones, Charlie Maloof, Manny Rodriguez, who have supported us through this program and really building it out and showcasing it to Broad River and to the world. To Tim and Emelyne, we wouldn't be here today without the two of you and everything that you've done for this program. It's so much bigger than the three of us, and I know that's our hope for the Lighthouse Fund as we continue to be a light to our listeners and our viewers at home. Thank you for joining us. It's been great. Always love seeing you guys on Stories from the River. See you real soon.
Thanks for listening to Stories from the River. To check out more episodes, visit storiesfromtheriver.com. To watch this episode, go to youtube.com/@storiesfromtheriver. Join us again next week, and remember to like, rate, and subscribe to the podcast.